Welcome to the dark side of love where heartbreak becomes revelation and betrayal meets quiet revenge. Today's story, my wife was treating me badly at dinner with friends, then her friend whispered, "Let's go outside." Scene 1. The dinner that changed everything, it started on a Friday night. One of those evenings that was supposed to feel casual, light, social, but even before we arrived at the restaurant, something felt off. You know how sometimes you just feel a storm coming, even when the skies are still clear. We were headed to a place Andrea always insisted was charming. It wasn't. It was the kind of mid-tier Italian restaurant where the lights are dim enough to make the cracked leather booths look vintage instead of worn out. And the wine list is overpriced to distract you from the watery pasta. But Andrea loved it. Said it reminded her of Europe even, though the closest she'd ever been to Rome was a layover in Newark. This dinner wasn't my idea. It rarely was. Her co-workers Denise, Monica, and Tasha were bringing their partners, and apparently it would have looked bad if I skipped, so I didn't. I dressed how I always did, navy, button-up dark jeans. Clean classic, nothing flashy. But the moment she saw me in the parking lot, I knew it wasn't good enough. "You're really wearing that?" she asked, eyebrows raised like I'd shown up in a clown suit. "You said you liked this shirt," I replied, trying to diffuse. She scoffed. "I liked it when you wore it to clean out the garage, not to dinner with my coworkers." I didn't argue, just kept walking. I'd learned by then that silence bought peace, even if it was short-lived. Scene 2. Public humiliation in slow motion once we were seated at the table. The show began. The wine came first, then the small talk, from every corner of the table except ours. Andrea was already in performance mode, cracking jokes with her friends, sipping her wine like it was some kind of spotlight. When the waiter came, I ordered a bourbon neat something to steel myself. Andrea gave me that look. "You know the one." "And your old man drinks," she said loudly, just enough for the others to hear. "He thinks he's this rugged gentleman James Bond in jeans, but he works in a warehouse." Denise chuckled politely. Monica offered a tight smile. Tasha didn't laugh at all. I tried to stay in the conversation. Someone brought up a new tapas place opening downtown. I said I'd heard good things. Just contributing. Simple. Andrea jumped on it. Harry read about tapas. What did someone staple a food blog to your clipboard at work? I smiled, shrugged, tried to pretend it didn't sting. But she kept going. He talks like he's cultured, but the man's idea of fine dining is a gas station sandwich and a root beer. That one landed harder. Laughter followed. Not the belly laugh kind. The awkward kind. The kind that fills the space when no one wants to be the one to call it out. I nodded. Took a sip. Bourbon burned less than her words. Then came the moment. I made a harmless joke about the menu being all carbs. Something light. Maybe even funny. And Andrea, without missing a beat, snapped, "God, can you not be embarrassing for one night? Seriously?" And just like that, silence. No more polite chuckles. No more forced smiles. Stillness. That's when I felt Tasha lean in, voice barely above a whisper. "Hey, ... let's go outside." I blinked. Unsure. "For a smoke," she added quickly, "or just air. Whatever you need." Just stood up, followed Tasha out the side door into the cool night air. Scene 3. The whisper. In the dark outside, the world was quiet, peaceful almost. The air was cool, the breeze soft against my face. Tasha lit a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating her expression, concerned but composed. "You smoke?" she asked, offering me one. I shook my head. "I don't." "Didn't think so," she said, taking a drag. "Figured you just needed an excuse to breathe." We stood there in silence for a few moments. Not awkward. Just still. Finally, she broke it. What she did in there. That wasn't okay. I looked down, hands in my pockets. "She's just tired." Tasha snorted. "No, tired is falling asleep during dessert. Tired is snapping once. That was deliberate. That was rehearsed." I didn't know what to say. It had been so long since anyone called it out, let alone. Stood beside me. She's not always like that, I muttered. Maybe not in public, Tasha said, flicking ash off the step. But tonight, that wasn't a fluke. That was normal for her. I didn't respond, because deep down, I knew she was right. Scene 4. The night that broke the illusion, we returned to the table about 10 minutes later. The rest of the meal, her earlier warmth had shifted into something cooler. Almost protective A's, if just being near me now meant watching out for more. Andrea, on the other hand, acted like nothing had happened. She was smiling again, laughing at Denise's story about her dog and a broken air fryer, her wine glass refilled, her tone back too friendly, almost charming, if I hadn't seen what was behind it. It was like she hit a reset button the moment I walked away, like none of her words earlier had left bruises. On the surface, it was all business as usual, but inside, I was beginning to rot from the truth I hadn't wanted to see. At home that night, she didn't mention the dinner, didn't ask why I stepped out with Tasha, didn't say sorry. Instead, she walked straight to the bedroom, curled up under the covers with her phone, and scrolled for over an hour while I took out the trash, unloaded the dishwasher, locked up the house. We both stopped, treating like a home that had become the rhythm me. Doing the small things, her noticing none of. It talked 2 years ago, we laughed together. I'd come home dirty from a shift, telling stories about truck drivers getting into arguments about who backed into the loading dock first. And she'd actually laugh, genuine belly-deep laughter. She'd kiss me on the forehead and say, "You smell like sweat and metal. Get in here now." She rolled her eyes when I walked too loudly near her. Zoom calls. That dinner didn't start the problem, but it was the last time I was willing to lie to myself about it. Scene 5. The message that changed everything 3 nights after that dinner. I was in the garage replacing the brake pads on her car. She'd been complaining about them for 2 weeks. I bought the parts, took the time, didn't even ask her to move her car into the garage, did it myself. That's the kind of man I was. It's the kind who took care of things quietly. Around 8:40 p.m., my phone buzzed on the workbench. Just a regular iPhone ding, nothing ominous about it, but when I picked it up, there was a message from a number I didn't recognize. No name, just a sentence. "You should know what your wife is doing on Thursdays." I stared at it. Blank. Spam. A prank. Someone, trying to get a rise out of me, was about to delete it when another message popped in. This one had an image. A screenshot of a text conversation. Andrea's name at the top, her words below. "He thinks I'm at the book club. Lucas, you better not make me wait again like last time." His reply already booked the suite. Champagnes. In the fridge, or the green one. The green one, my stomach dropped. I knew the dress. I'd zipped it up for her a month ago when she was headed out for a girls' night. She'd twirled in it, smiling at herself in the mirror. Too much. For just the girls? She'd asked, lips painted red. Apparently not. I didn't reply to the messages. Didn't ask who sent them. I didn't need to. Evidence was loud enough. I wiped my hands on an old rag, walked into the house, and sat on the couch across from her. She was watching some dating show, sipping wine, curled up like a woman without a care in the world. How was book club? I asked casually. She didn't even look up. Boring. Laura picked a memoir about mountain climbing. Nobody finished. You were out late, I said. Yeah, we grabbed drinks after. Right, of course. That was it. No guilt in her voice. No hesitation. Just clean. Effortless lies. And that's when I knew this wasn't just disconnection. This wasn't a marriage on the rocks. This was betrayal, unfolding in real time. Scene 6. Surveillance and confirmation. The following Thursday. I told Andrea I had to stay late at work for inventory. She barely looked up from her phone. Cool. I've got book club anyway. Don't wait up. I watched. Her walk out the door at exactly 6:35 p.m. She was wearing the green dress. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. My heart wasn't pounding. It wasn't even broken. It was still, numb even. I wasn't sure what I'd see, but a part of me already knew. I parked across the street from the downtown hotel and waited. At 6:59 p.m., Andrea pulled up. Checked her phone. Walked inside. Less than 5 minutes later, he showed up. Tall, tailored. Suit. Late 30s. Good posture. His name was Lucas, one of her firm's top clients. She'd mentioned him in passing once, said he had kids, a wife. They kissed. Right there in the hotel lobby. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Like she hadn't just left a husband fixing her car brakes. Like she hadn't just lied to my face. Took a photo. One. Just enough. Then I drove home in silence. Scene 7. Digital dust and paper trails that night. While she slept beside me still wearing traces of perfume that wasn't Meanie. Opened her laptop, same password she'd always used. She hadn't even bothered to change it, and just like that, the floodgates opened. Her calendar entries, labeled client call. They matched every Thursday she claimed she had book club. Email threads forwarded from her personal Gmail to her work address. Flirty texts, hotel confirmations, miss you already messages. She wasn't even trying to hide it. No encrypted apps. No secret devices. Just the arrogance of someone who thought they'd never be caught. I backed up everything. Screenshots, emails, the hotel photo, even her receipts. I named the folder Andrea_L. Then I called a lawyer the next morning. Her name was Catherine Rowe. Scene 8. The calm before the cut, Catherine Rowe wasn't the kind of lawyer who asked why. She didn't need the drama, she needed the facts. The first time we spoke, she said, "Let's talk assets, and let's be smart. You get one shot at clean." That was the first moment in months I felt like I had control over something by Monday morning. Catherine had a plan. By Tuesday, we filed the petition quietly. By Wednesday, I was no longer just the guy fixing the brakes. I was the man who was done being broken. We froze half the joint savings, my half-hand, moved it into a solo account. I canceled the credit card she used for her weekly wine and dinner deliveries. I pulled the car off our insurance. It was under my name anyway. No fireworks, no confrontation, just quiet disconnection. Click, click. By Friday, I had everything. A manila envelope packed with proof screenshots, calendar, logs, printed emails, the photo of her and Lucas, arms tangled, smiles, shameless. All that was left was the moment. Scene 9. The gala gift. Andrea had been hyping up her firm's networking gala for weeks. New dress, new hair, new energy. Of course, Lucas would be there. He was the guest speaker. She made sure to casually mention him at dinner that Wednesday, as if he were just a professional acquaintance. That Friday evening, she stood in our bathroom, curling her hair, humming softly, sipping white wine while practicing her engaged, but elegant expression in the mirror. "You look nice," I told her from the hallway. She paused, surprised. "I finally figured out how to give a compliment, huh?" I nodded, lips sealed. She didn't see what I'd slipped into her clutch. Earlier, just under her compact and lipstick, the manila envelope. I timed it perfectly. She wouldn't open it until she arrived, probably in the bathroom, maybe even at the table. Either way, I wouldn't have to say a word. She left at 6:15 p.m. No kiss goodbye. Just the clicking of heels fading into the distance. Scene 10. The reveal earlier that week. I told Tashir Faley that something was coming. Not everything. Just enough. She agreed to keep an eye on Andrea at the gala. At 6:52 p.m., my phone buzzed. Tasha. She just opened it, too. Pages in, she left the ballroom. Looks like she's going to throw up. I didn't reply. I just stared at the message. Somewhere inside, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, just stillness, quiet confirmation. That night, while Andrea was unraveling under the weight of her own betrayal, I was packing a duffel bag at home. Just the essentials: clothes, charger, my grandfather's watch, the backup drive with everything. I'd already signed a short-term lease across town. It's 2 months, furnished clean. Quiet at 12:07 a.m., I watched the Ring app light up. Andrea at the front door, fumbling with her keys, heels in her hand. Mascara smudged. She paused when she saw the half-empty closet through the window. Just stood there, still clutch in hand. Breathing uneven, she didn't go in right away. Maybe she thought if she waited long enough, I'd step out of the shadows and ask if she was okay. I didn't. At 12:08 a.m., her first message came in. Andrea, what the hell is this? Then another. Andrea, is this a joke? Andrea, Harry, what are you doing? And then the shift. Andrea, please, can we just talk? I didn't respond. She called. I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. Her voice was shaking, not angry, just panicked. I didn't mean to hurt you. Just I didn't think you'd ever find out. I messed up, I know that. But don't throw everything away, please. Everything. She threw everything away the first time she called at book club. Scene 11. The final door that Saturday. Andrea showed up at my apartment. I hadn't given her the address. Turns out a mutual friend had let it slip. Someone from her office, probably. Knocked. Not angrily, softly. Like she wasn't sure she had the right to be there. She was holding a grocery bag. Inside was a six-pack of my favorite beer. A frozen pizza. A bag of kettle chips, she remembered. Things I liked from a time when peace was still possible. Can we please just talk? She asked. I stood behind the door, hand resting on the knob. Heart still. You're just going to shut me out like this, she said. I opened the door, not fully. Just enough. You didn't just cheat, Andrea. You made a fool out of me. In front of strangers? Repeatedly. That's not love. That's sport. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. She stepped back, and then she said it. I guess I never thought you'd be the one to walk away. And I replied, that's exactly why I did. Scene 12. The crumble of a false kingdom. Lucas didn't last long after that. His wife filed for divorce within a week. Word got around. He moved in with his brother. Trying to piece together the shredded image of a family man, with 1,000 apologies, Andrea tried to fight the house listing. Claimed it's where we built our life. But Catherine had already drawn the lines. Half the house was mine, and half the say was too. I signed the papers. Didn't look back. No more judgment for how I folded the laundry. No more snide comments. About my lunch choices. No more feeling like a background actor in my own marriage. For the first time in years, the silence wasn't crushing, it was liberating. Scene 13. The coffee that didn't feel like a date a few days after the gala. Tasha texted me again. Tasha, you all right? I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, me, I'm getting. There we met for coffee the following weekend. Not a date. No pressure. Just to people who'd quietly seen the worst of something and didn't pretend it was normal. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, one of those tucked-away places with scratched wooden tables and too many old novels on the shelf. She didn't try to pry. She didn't bring up Andrea right away. She just sipped her latte and waited until I was ready. Eventually, she spoke. I was scared to step in that night, she said, stirring her drink slowly. But something about your face. It hit me like you didn't even expect to be defended. I looked down, nodded. I didn't. She paused. Well, you deserve to be. That stuck with me. Still does. Scene 14. The texts that tried to late Andrea kept trying. Not every day, not with desperation, but in those carefully worded, guilt-laced texts that felt more like traps than apologies. I just want to understand what happened. You didn't even give us a chance to fix it. We were struggling. Doesn't that count for something? I didn't block her. But I never answered either. Because the truth is, once you've been publicly humiliated by the one person who swore to protect your name, there's no fix. There's no going back. There's only forward and freedom. It didn't look like revenge. It looked like sleeping through the night without anxiety. It looked like cooking eggs the way I like them. It looked like sitting on my small balcony, beer in hand, reading a book without being judged for the title. I didn't want her back. I wanted myself back. And slowly, day by day, I was becoming that man again. Scene 15. Peace doesn't always announce itself a month past. The divorce process moved forward quiet, efficient, emotionless. Catherine handled everything like a professional storm. There were no screaming matches, no courtroom drama. Just dotted lines and disappearing echoes. Andrea's texts came less often, until 1 Wednesday morning, just one final message. Andrea, I'm sorry for everything. I mean that. I read it twice, then I deleted it. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because I didn't need it anymore. I wasn't seeking closure from the person who broke me, because I had found peace somewhere else, in silence, in solitude, in rebuilding. Scene 16. Reflection on the balcony most nights now. I sit on the little balcony outside my new apartment. Nothing fancy, just a modest view of the city quiet streets, blinking traffic lights, distant conversations from open windows. I sip my beer, let the breeze roll over my skin. Sometimes I play an old record. Sometimes I just sit in the dark, not thinking about her, not wondering what she's doing, not chasing an explanation. I remember something Andrea used to say back when we were still good, back when she wore my flannel shirts around the house and laughed at dumb jokes over burnt pancakes. She used to say, "You're too quiet sometimes, Harry. Like you're always planning something." Turns out, she was right. I was planning something. I was planning my freedom. Scene 17. The real ending knot. The one with shouting and slammed doors. Not a dramatic fight in a hotel lobby, not fists through walls or loud ultimatums. My ending came. Quietly, an envelope in a clutch. A walk out the door, a silent apartment with empty closets and no more begging for respect, because sometimes the loudest thing you can do is walk away. And sometimes the most powerful revenge is no revenge at all. All it's living well, living better, living free. I didn't become colder. I became clearer. I didn't become harder. I became whole. And for the first time in years, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a shadow of who I used to be. I saw a man who had finally stopped asking, "What did I do wrong?" and started asking, "What do I deserve now?" If you've ever been where I was, if you've ever stayed too long, loved too hard, or swallowed too many words, know this: you're not weak for walking away. You're not cruel for demanding respect. You're not broken. You're just finally done pretending you're okay with being treated like you're not enough. And when the silence comes, let it, because sometimes silence isn't loneliness. It's the sound of you getting everything back. Not them. Not them. Not revenge, you.